Thank you,
Thank
for joining us at KMAC Museum and having a show for us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's amazing to be in the other, side of the world doing an exhibition. It's such a terrific experience.
Well, your pieces are so flowing and so iconic and totemic, and I wanted to ask you, how do you begin with creating these works? Do you start with the ceramics? Do you start with a sketch? What triggers what is the impetus for beginning some of these pieces?
So for sure, I start it from the ceramic. So when I started the exhibition, I worked on it as a group. I don't start with each one of them apart. I think it's really important to combine the work process with all of them, because there's things that you find out in the middle of the road, and you can change all of them together, so they will not feel like they made in different time zones or different state of mind. So it connects them. So when I start the exhibition, I put like around 20 vases on the floor of my studio, and I just wait until one of them will say something. It will indicate something about what add-ons does it want. That maybe a shape I will understand, maybe a texture, maybe a color, something that will say, okay, the extension will be. So and I figure something out. I make it, I put it aside, and then I go to figure out something else. So it's always back and forth, and I found that it's better for me, because before that I used to also start from the ceramic, but I used to sketch. So it was like solving a riddle, like I will understand something and then I will understand it all, and then I have to make everything according to the sketch. And I found this process a bit binding, and it makes me a bit rigid, because I'm fighting to make it as the sketch. And sometimes this is only the first association, and then life happens and something else comes that is much better. So I decided to change how I work and work on all of them horizontally. And I found it interesting that they are very, very vertical, but the work is built like that. And until the day they are all formed in my studio, and one day it's like they stand, and I look at it and I know it's over.
They wake up.
Yeah, they're finished. They're looking in my eyes, and I know it's over. And it's a really beautiful moment. It's worth the hustle, of making it there. Yeah, it's a beautiful moment.
So you said they're on the floor around you.
I like things on the floor. I adore things on the floor. It makes me a different perspective. I think it's triggered your mind to stop thinking of them as vases and look at them in a different point of view. And so each one of them contain like clues for the other. Do you want me to show you?
Yes, I'd love to.
Okay, so if we look at this piece, those, I just had a feeling they're going to go together. This I had first, this one, and you see the shape.
Yes.
There is a flow to it that I knew that it's going to be wider. There was like, my hands just knew that it's going to get wider. And when I found this one, I just remembered that I have a vase that has the same color. And when I took it to the studio, they're a perfect fit. It's like magical moments when something wants to go with another one, they want to connect, they just connect. It's amazing. And then this piece, I didn't do them together. They were I put them aside, and this piece, I knew that I wanted it upside down. It's a beautiful piece. When you see it correctly, it speaks only about this area. And when you flip it, it's only about the wax. And I knew that I wanted this narrow part, and to come back to make it longer into the wood. Just slightly changing the wood. So I made this part and I made that part, and then it took me a long time to figure out this area, because it looks simple, but it's really this delicate moments that makes the difference. I initially made it very, like, how do you call it? I didn't make it high. I made it flat. And it was okay, but it was just sitting there. And then I understood I need to elongate it. And then it was like playing with that until the perfect size, the perfect height will be. And it took me a long time to figure out how to color it, if to color it, if to texture it, because it had to be a bridge between this and that. It couldn't be just wood, because just wood is beautiful, but it will be in this color, and it looks very strange when it's set there. And I couldn't do it only black, because then it wouldn't.
Right.
So I did so many texts, and in the end I just took lots of wood pigments in different variation with water, and I just, little by little, just painted it until
just stippled it.
Yeah, and then I worked on the textures, and it happened. But it took a long time, and then in the end it should be looking simple. There's some simplicity to it. It's like days and days and days, months, and I figured out, and I do stuff, and I don't like them, I do them again. But then in the end, there's a moment when they click, and they're really good together, and this is it.
And it's not complicated.
Yes. So this is how, it takes time to figure it out. If I would sketch it, I would figure it out differently. And then I would be a bit controlling the process, and I try not to.
Yeah, you've mentioned, I think that there's almost a dialogue that you
There
have
is.
with the pieces.
They have their dialogue, and they have the dialogue with me, and we have together. Yeah, I have this notion that the pieces they know what they want to do. Like, the vase know that he wants to participate, and he's like, me, and then it's like that, because sometimes you have the most beautiful vases I have in my studio, the most attractive ones, and you want to do a sculpture from them because it will be like no-brainer, this is going to be amazing, but they don't want to participate. They are solo.
They don't play well with others.
They don't play well with others. So I always say that in Europe, that they need to want to play with others. They need to be a group players, and I think the sculptures are somewhere, I don't know, are already figured out, and then they picked me, and I'm very grateful for that, to be creative, and I just need to do that, and I need to listen to the clues, and then they are creative. They don't give me, I don't get the full answer. I'm just getting clues, and I need to figure it out. And I think this part of working, this process of working, it makes me more meditative, but not I don't sit and meditate. It just it brings me home. It brings me to focus and to shut out all life and all craziness, and just be present with the piece, with the parts of the piece, and to understand what I want to do. And so it's precious moments. And I think in the end it resonates I hope, to the viewer as pieces of presence.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Tell me about the top part to this piece then.
So this piece is different. Each one of them, I can tell you the process, and each one of them is very, very different. And this one, I was sure that I would like glass because of the shining. So I said it will be from matte to very, very shiny. So I did it again and again in glass, and it looked horrible. And I needed another one. Nope. And another one. No. I did so many, and all of them didn't communicate well. And it took me a while. The notes are very, very important, because it makes you understand something about materials, about shapes. When you see something and it's a no, you need to explain yourself why is a no. And it's really, really interesting process, and sometimes it's easier to define something through the no than through the yes. And so I made it out of glass again and again and again, and it didn't work. So I put it aside. I understand it's supposed to be something else. And it took me a while to understand which material. And then I thought about metal. And initially I thought about darkening it to make it something that it will darken. It will be like complementing. But when I did it, he just formed himself. I did several. And they were like, no. And then one day, I had a feeling that if I will just let go and do it, it will come together. You know, that's the moment in time that you. And I sat quietly, and I just did it in clay, and waited until it dried, and then sand it, and the form just came out of it. It was like really beautiful, and I just knew this is the one. And when I cast it in bronze, they asked me, do you want us to put acid on it? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
The bronze has this perfect color, and it's the perfect color, and you see, and I sand it, and it looks like that.
Yes.
And I couldn't know that from the start.
Right.
You just need to be there and to know when to stop. Like we talked before. Just know when to stop. And they said, do you want to make it very shiny? Do you want to? And I said, no, let's not do anything. I just sand it very, roughly. And the beautiful of this bronze that it will change color.
Right.
So at the beginning it was super, super shiny and goldy, and now it's a bit of greenish. It's really the same color.
Yes.
And I was waiting that it will make it, and maybe it will change more and more, and it will be still in this realm. And those lines are here. And so it's so subtle, and nobody needs to know about it, but it makes sense. So when you look, you don't know why, but they connect.
Yes.
And I think connection is one of the most interesting things that, for me, it's why things have the motivation to connect to each other. What is the inner movement, inner motivation? I like it in people, I like it in sculptures. I'm very intrigued by this. There's this, motivation, why things come together. I don't try to answer it, but it's really, really interesting, like a magnet.